Welcome back, everybody, to the Fighting for Freedom podcast. I just want to say thank you to everybody for all your love and support. You guys have helped this channel grow dramatically. If you could please, at this time, drop us a like, comment, subscribe, share our podcast, turn on those bell notifications, and leave us a rating and good review. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Fighting for freedom, one podcast at a time.
Hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to another episode on the pod. Today, we're switching it up. We're doing something that we haven't really done, and we are introducing Trisha Brzezinski, who has actually been in the military for her entire 33-year life. Her story is different to what we're used to, but it's nice to see a different perspective of how the military aids and caters to families, not only the members that are in it serving, but also their loved ones back home. Trish, how you doing today?
Good. How are you? Hello.
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Yeah, hello. So what's up, T?
Not much. How are you? How's everybody doing? I hope I can provide a bunch of insight on not only seeing the military through a child's eyes and a child's perspective with me growing up, but also through now being a wife and an adult and seeing it from this perspective as well. So I've been on both perspectives, and I feel like I can give a pretty good insight into both sides.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've literally, you were grown into the military family, correct?
Correct. My dad
Okay,
was in the Navy for 26 and 3/4 years. He was Navy EOD, and he was a diver. He retired at the rank of CW04, so I grew up on the officer side. And then when he retired, I was in 10th grade, I believe, like 9th or 10th grade. And then I went those few years of my dad being retired, which when you retire from the military, you don't really retire from the military. My dad went right back to being a civilian contractor for the military through a defense contract that he had with the EOD school. So he still worked with EOD. He still worked with divers. He still worked with the military. Even still to this day, he is still a contractor with the military. So, yes. And then I met my husband when we were in high school, and we went through college, all the way through college. He went through more college and then decided after he finished all of his college to join the military because there really wasn't another option at that point. I had gotten pregnant and we had just gotten married, and it was kind of, his back was against the wall, and we were like, okay, you're going in the military. That's the best thing for us. So he joined the military, and he's been in now for 6 years, and he's an E5. So now I'm on the enlisted side as an adult. So
you have the best of both worlds.
Exactly. I have grown up both sides. And it is very different.
When you were younger, oh yeah, I believe it. I definitely want to know the key differences. But when you were growing up, were you guys traveling a lot? Were you living in a lot of different places?
So I was very thankful that my dad put himself in a position to where we didn't have to move as often. My sister is 8 years older than me, and she was kind of with my dad when he was still enlisted. My dad joined the military as an E1, so he went all the way up. And so she did move around a lot. She was born in Maryland, in Indian Head, and then they moved to Hawaii, and they moved several different places. But by the time I came along and I was born, I moved, let's see, 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 times my whole life. My dad had made a promise to us as kids that by the time we started high school, he would not move us again because he wanted us to be able to establish friendships and relationships with people that we could have forever versus having them for 2 years and then being like, oh, see you later, and having to make new friends all the time. So by the time I was born, my dad was when I was 3, he commissioned over, or didn't commission, but he kind of went over to the warrant officer side, to the chief side, and all of that. So he started moving up higher as I was born. I lived in Key West. I lived in Little Creek, Virginia, and I lived in Crestview, Florida, where my dad was stationed at the EOD school pretty much my whole life. From the time I was 6 until the time he retired, I was at my same house in Crestview. So I literally went elementary, middle, and high school in the same place, just due to my dad being able, his job and him having the ranks that he had and stuff. He was able to stay wherever, like right there, because that's where they needed him the most.
And you got lucky. Usually, a lot of people, when they're born into that military family,
yes,
yeah, you're moving every 3 years. You're going overseas. You're, not able to get the full. I'm sorry, you do get the full experience of the military, which is, not always the best.
My dad did a lot of. He did one long deployment when I was 4, and he was gone he deployed a lot when my sister was little. And then by the time I was born, he didn't have to deploy as much. So he did one long deployment that I remember. Maybe there was more, and I just don't recall them. But I know he deployed when I was 4, and he was gone for 6 months on a ship. And we never talked to him. We wrote him letters. We had a chain link thing that we'd pull off every day till Dad comes home. But we didn't get like now. My husband deploys and I can FaceTime him every single day. I know where he's at every second of all times, and I can text him, I can FaceTime him. So it's a lot more family friendly now than it was then in terms of being able to communicate with the service member. But other than my dad deploying for that long time, he would go away for short periods of time and do really cool Secret Service work, like for different presidents and everything. It was really cool. He'd come home but he wouldn't be able to tell us everything, but he would be, it was one of those, can't tell you, but we knew the black suit comes out, Dad's going TDY.
Yeah. Gotta make sure that thing is dry cleaned and ready to go.
Exactly.
But so how old were you when you finally like the military hit you, where it went from like that, my dad's kind of like the G.I. Joe phase to like, my dad's in the military and this kind of sucks, or this is like really good, where everything starts to kind of like, play into your life of, he's basically in the military. He's got shit to do, and I'm now grown and I have my own life. Like how old are you when you finally hit that point in your life?
Honestly, I never really, the military has always been a part of me. So I never got that. Like I've always seen it as like, this is the way life is. So I've never known a difference. And I don't think I don't think I would want to know a difference. I am one of those people that just loves the military. I love everything about it. I think that they do everything they can. Do we make a lot of money? No. But our families are taken care of. If you have a family, you are taken care of. You're provided with housing, you're provided with, food. We don't ever have to worry. Like in that, the healthcare, that's huge. I have a lot of kids. I got a lot of kids. I got 4 kids, 6 and under. And healthcare, if he wasn't in the military, we'd probably be paying $3,000 a month in healthcare. You can't beat TRICARE. So I've always had TRICARE.
Not at all.
There was 1 year of my 33 years that I didn't have TRICARE. And I was like, I don't ever want to feel this again. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So there was no
I do agree with you.
There was no age where it switched, where I was like, "Ooh, my dad's in the military." It was always to me like my dad is in the military. Like, that is awesome. And still to this day, it's like,
Yeah.
I feel the same way about my husband. And I still tell everybody about my dad. I tell everybody about my husband. I'm like, my dad was in the military for almost 27 years. My husband is in the military. Like, that's a huge deal. Like, and it still gives me goosebumps. It still like is huge to me. So it never wore off, I guess.
No, I mean, I honestly don't blame you at all, because you're right. You were in that situation where you were born and you were just like military, like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of jealous because, I didn't grow up into that. And I have to agree with you where I love the military. I think the military is great. One of the best decisions I've ever done in my life. I'll never take it back. I love being in the Navy. Nothing is really bad about it, except for the whole fact that sometimes you have to go places and you won't have, great communication with your family and you miss certain events. But at the end of the day, it is the ultimate sacrifice, right? And everyone knew that when they were signing up. As far as the healthcare goes, I have never been treated so well in my life that if anything is wrong with me, they are right there to be like, we got you,
Yeah.
So anyone thinking about joining the military, either with or without a family, and the idea of soon wanting to start a family, just know that the number one thing we can both tell you collectively is your family will be taken care of, even more than you will be taken care of. Just the knowing that I have to go away on a deployment or on an exercise or what have you, my wife and my kids, they have the best of the best. So that is nothing that I have to worry about. Also, the resources, right? Can you touch into some resources that you have experienced or used or know about?
So when my husband deploys, I don't recall it as a kid. I'm sure we were involved in it as a kid, but I just don't remember. But as a wife, I do get to get
Mhm.
involved. So when our husbands leave, leading up to them leaving, you'll start having an FRG meeting, which is the family readiness group. And I highly suggest any wives out there that are feeling like, I'm in this by myself, I can't do this, this is going to be horrible, get involved with your FRG, because they are your liaison. They're like your link from the command to you. So they will talk everything about the command. You will know everything that's going on, sometimes before your husband does. And you'll know, like, you'll feel so much better. You won't feel like you're in the dark about anything, because they're going to let you know everything. I mean, the COs,
Mhm.
they came and talked to us wives before the guys deployed. They let us know what's going on. We get a rundown. And then we also get that community of the wives getting together once a month on deployment and just being with each other, breaking bread, having food together, letting our kids play together. And that happens once a month. But we also set up play dates and different things going on, like ice cream socials and bowling night and all this stuff, so that we're always getting together at least twice a month while they're gone. When they get back, it's a little less than when they're gone. You're going to meet more. But when they're back, you really want to just spend that time with them, because you know they're going to have to deploy again. So you try to soak it all up. And we know that as an FRG, but I would highly recommend getting involved in the FRG, because it is a godsend.
It's like your second family when,
Yes.
when you're in the
I
military,
also
no?
highly suggest your husband getting a very close knit group. For the CBs, I'm blessed that the CBs have a very almost like set schedule in sea duty of how they deploy. So they're home for a year, they're gone for 6 months. Ship life isn't like that. Ship life, you don't know really when they're going. But in the CBs, we get that set schedule. So we know in our mind, like, okay, deployment's coming up, we can prepare ourselves more mentally for it. And that helps a lot too. But
Yeah.
I would say that is like huge. I would highly recommend your husband getting a close group knit of guys that he can trust, that when he's gone on deployment, that his family and kids are also still taken care of, because he knows that his wife, if she needs anything, can pick up her phone and call one of his friends and they'll be there in a heartbeat. And I will say from experience, it makes a huge difference because Vinny was my go-to. Like anytime my husband was gone, he would come over if I was just feeling down and he would be like, I'm going to watch the kids. You can go take a nap. Or I always had a newborn baby every time my husband deployed. My husband has never been home.
Gosh. Yeah.
My husband has never been home for the newborn stage. So from newborn to 6-7 months old, it's me. And he's gone on deployment. And it started that way from boot camp. So I was always in that, like, trying to recover postpartum, and the guys were always there for me. They were always there for me. And when they all like moved or got out, it was kind of like my community, it's gone. Like, where'd they go? So that was harder when Vinny finally transferred this past deployment. I ended up not staying at our base. I ended up packing up the kids and going home to be with family because deployment is just so hard to be by yourself, especially with 4 little kids. And this last deployment, my husband left 4 days after I gave birth. So it was really hard on me this time. So I would suggest that he gets very close-knit friends that he can trust to take care of his wife too, because she's going to need all the help that she can get when he's gone. I mean, Vinny hung lights, hung TVs, put in sink faucets for me. Any manly thing I needed done, I
did everything.
He picked up dead squirrels.
Went to go get milk from. I did. I chased the dog to get the gopher out of her mouth.
Yes, exactly.
I did a lot of shit. Carried the picnic table, set up the trampoline. Yeah. No, we definitely did it, and I'm grateful.
My kids refer to him as Uncle Vinny or Uncle Harem because he's been there for their whole life. So that was huge for me, is to have that community.
Yeah, for me too. You know, I don't know if I probably said it in the past, but like I just want to say thank you to you and your family, because when I left New York and joined the Navy, I left all of my family. So like, you know, yeah, I have like my military family, right? But you guys were kind of more than the military family because we did so much shit together. You know,
exactly.
I had your kids from day one. Your oldest, who's now 6. That was like, you know, I met you guys and you guys had this little baby, and I was like, does it stop crying, or like what does it do anything else? You know, but now, fast forward 5-6 years. It's like, you know, she knows who I am. You know, we take it to the park. We go on walks. I would buy them toys, and we would just have water gun fights in the house. Sorry for ruining all your furniture, but, you know, I don't live there, so. Yeah, no, it was fun. And then, like, whenever, like, we had, like, downtime at work and I didn't want to, like, you know, go home because I didn't want to, like, get in trouble, I would just come over and just sit at your house and be like, you don't have work today? I'm like, oh, I do. I'm just skating, you know?
Exactly. He would just text me, I'm coming over. I'm like,
those are some of the best times.
So, yeah, it was.
Yeah. Or we were so close that I'd be like, hey, I'm coming over. And you'd be like, I'm not home, but there's food in the fridge and the door's open. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm like, this is great. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in addition to the FRG, because that really does help from the beginning, try to get yourself, you know, don't try to, you know, eventually like a relationship like me and your family have, like it kind of just came about, you know, we didn't try anything. It was just meant to be.
You guys met in A school, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you would come and put us all in the van and
call the guys up off from base and take them to my house off base.
Yeah, and then we go hang out with your baby and just put her in the, what is that thing called when they sit in and walk, the walker? Is that what it's called?
Yep, the walker.
Yeah, and those were some of the best times, man. And we would just put Barbie Girl on full blast and dance all around your apartment.
Yep.
That baby has been so many places compared to any other baby in her life. Yeah. She's been to Texas. Did she go to Mississippi or no?
Well, we stopped there on the way from California to here.
Okay.
So we stopped there. But that's probably where we're headed
Okay.
next. So hopefully.
Ooh, Waffle House, that good, huh?
I don't know about that, but I'm okay with Gulfport just because it's still within driving distance from my family. So I can still,
Yeah.
if he deploys, then I can drive home for the day. I can drive home for the weekend. It's only 4 hours from my family. So it's still okay for, like, it's not California where it's $4,000 to get a
Yeah.
flight to come see my family.
Yeah, 100%. So, have you done any other things or used any other resources that the military offered besides the FRG?
I'm trying to think. Not that I can think of personally, but I take that back. I have utilized the chaplain. The chaplain was a good resource for me in Port Hueneme. That first deployment that he went on, because first deployments
Okay.
they're hard. It's weird
Yeah,
too
it's
because
rough, especially when you're
deployments
dealing
as
with
a
it.
child, from a child as you're just like, okay, daddy's gone. From a wife's, it's like, well, I guess I'm doing this all by myself. So that's great. So then it takes a toll on our mental health just as much as it does y'all's. And
Yeah.
the chaplain helped a lot. He's easy to access. He would come to our FRG meetings. So I would just sit and talk with him at the FRG meetings. I also homeschool my kids. So I did utilize, there's a huge community of military homeschoolers, and every base you go to has a group on Facebook for that base, typically of, like, we had one in Port Hueneme. It was like Port Hueneme military homeschoolers or something like that. And they get together every week for the kids to socialize, for them to hang out. They do field trips together. So that resource helps a lot too. And then
Oh, wow.
if you're on base and you're struggling, because of, like, our base pay, if you're not a high enough rank, can be rough if you have a larger family. They have food pantries, they have food banks that assist with, like, groceries and stuff. So once a month you could go to this and you get a ton of food. You get produce, you get cheese, you get milk. It's different every month, but they provide that to you for free. It's like a free resource for you to utilize if you want it. I utilized it several times, but then I just stopped utilizing it because I wasn't using everything that they were giving. So I was like, I'll just let somebody else have it. But as military families and you have kids, WIC is another big one. If your kids are 5 and below, apply for WIC, because that gives you juice, eggs, cheese, milk, grains, bread, all of it. Like, WIC helps a ton with groceries. It can cut a lot off your groceries. They pay for fruits and vegetables. Like, they give you a stipend for fruits and vegetables. And that's on top of, like, the guys' BAS and all this other stuff. So, like, there's plenty of resources. If you need the help, reach out, because they're right there in front. Like, they're right there. You just have to utilize them. And if you live on base, join your base free pages, because when people PCS, they will put everything by the side of the road. And I mean everything. You can furnish your entire house from people PCSing, and it is awesome, because some of the items you can just pick up and they're in great condition. You can just refurbish them yourself, or, use them in your house just as is. Like, a lot of the stuff that is given away on base is brand new. Especially, you can get baby clothes, you can get kids clothes, women's clothes. When I tell you they give away everything in the house, I mean everything.
Yep.
And that's a huge resource.
I've seen that people give away. Even when I was living in the barracks, I furnished, like, my whole barracks room with stuff that people were giving away. Because when you think about it, like, they've been here for 3 years, so maybe it's 3 years old, maybe it's a little older, or maybe it's brand new. And for the most part, it's military people giving it to military people. So if it's quality, they'll give it to you. If it's garbage, they might be like,
Right.
Nah,
They're like,
let me
yeah, don't
just
take
let me
it.
just scrap it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's a lot of people on base who like to keep busy, like with little side hustles too. I kind of see
Mm-hmm.
that, like like detailing cars or
Yep.
maybe babysitting. I see little kids. They'll be like Chiefs 4 boys walking down the street, like cutting grass and
Oh
you
yeah.
know
Like
being on
if you have
base is a big
teenagers for
community.
sure. Yeah. If you have teenagers for sure. Like when my kids are old enough to push a lawnmower, knock knock knock. They're gonna
Yeah,
be mowing lawns. Especially my son. I only have one son, but that could be his first job. And a lot of wives, they start little side businesses with, if they have like one of those Cricut things, they'll make cups
hmm
or shirts or whatever, and they can make good money doing that. Or I know of several wives that bake bread or jams or baked goods like cakes and stuff like that, and they sell that and they stay busy. Or if you're a really good cook, you can make meals and people will buy it because we
yeah.
all don't have that time. So it's you can make your military experience whatever you want to make it.
You just got to reach out and find the resources.
Exactly.
Facebook groups are probably the best thing you can ever do as someone
Hmm.
who's on a military base.
Yeah,
I
before you even PCS, if you get those orders and your husband comes home and he's like, "Hey, this is where we're going," the first thing you should do as a wife is go to Facebook and look up the wives group for that base. So
yeah, I think that's probably step
every
one.
base has a wives group. Every single base has one. I'm part of the Jacksonville wives
hmm
group now on Facebook, and it will have everything you need in there. And it's normally pinned right at the top. So they literally will list every resource for you, from finding rental homes for you to getting you hooked up with a realtor, or, you know, finding local farms or whatever it is that you need. You can ask it in that group and they'll answer it.
Have you done any like I don't want to say side hustles, maybe that sounds like a bad thing, but have you pursued any like employment while in the military?
Um, Prior to having kids, before my husband joined, I owned my own successful personal training company. I did personal training and nutrition for competitive bodybuilders. My husband and I were both competitive bodybuilders before, when we were in college, and I was a personal trainer through it all. And I had a very successful business. It was called Anchored Fit, and my motto was building a strong foundation for lasting results. And I made very good money doing that. And when I started having kids, I kind of took a step back because I knew where I was needed more, and that was in my home with my kids, raising my kids, because I didn't ever want to send my kids to daycare or public school. So I decided to take a step back. Um, Recently, in the past couple of years, though, I do have a couple of clients that I still work with. And if somebody comes to me and
hmm
says, "Hey, I need help," I'll take them on as a client. And so I still make money doing that. It's not a lot because I'm not diving deep into it, but I do make some money doing that.
Yeah, yeah, you're more of a like a coach now, like with
Mhm.
someone that you've been with for a while, so you know their story. You don't have
Right.
to like start from scratch. Well, if
Right.
you ever do get back into it, let us know. We'll definitely put you out there. I bet there's some people listening right now that are like, damn, like, should I still email her anyway and see if she'll take on a new client?
Of course, of course.
You never
Yes.
know.
I actually, when my kids get a little bit older and they don't need me as much, my kids need me all day, every
Yeah,
day.
good luck with that
I'm
one.
still
Yeah,
I'm still
yeah.
24 hours on the clock. I don't get time off. So when they don't need me as much and they're a little bit older, then I do plan on coming back to it. So I do plan on reopening spots
Nice,
for
nice.
people. So hopefully in the
But
next
you
couple
have been in the military in the next couple of years.
I'm hoping in the next couple of years. I still want to have a couple more
Fingers
kids.
crossed.
I want at least one more kid.
At least one more. So in woman terminology, that's what, like 6, 7 more kids?
Well, my husband agreed to one more, so I'll go with one more.
Oh, okay. You got the blessing. That's it. Get in here, Stu.
Yeah,
So
I want
I
one more.
kind of wanted to. I kind of wanted to touch on. You've been married, and you know, to the military lifestyle your entire life. What have you noticed that has changed in the military from when you were, a teenager to say now? Like, has the military changed drastically? Is it stayed the same? Like, what are some pros and cons that you've noticed?
Um, one one pro is it's the a lot of it base wise doesn't change. Like healthcare is the same, all of that's the same. I will say the difference though, when I was a kid, I have very vivid memories of pretty much every weekend being at somebody's house for a cookout or a party or a get together. We were always together, always, like the whole community. If you lived on base, it was you were in your neighbor's face all the time. Like you guys were family. Like you walk out your back door on Saturday and there's a cookout and everybody's there. It's like a cookout of 30. There was a ton of family days. Like we get to go to work with my dad or get to see what he does. And I don't see that now. I don't see that now. I don't see that camaraderie, that community as much, like where it's let's all get together this weekend. All of us are getting together no matter what. And I still tried to do it by hosting like all of you guys over for Easter and Thanksgiving and all of those things, like having everybody at the house, because that's what I love that. I love the big community. I love having that relationship with everybody. And I miss that. I miss that part of the military where everybody was together all the time. And there was never a moment that we weren't together. But other than that, I would say
It's
a
always like
lot of the military is the same. I would say the core values of the military are never going to change. They've been the same forever and they'll always be the same. They will always be family and taking care of the family. But I will say that's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed as a change from when I was a kid to now. And I don't know if it's because I was a kid and now I'm a wife, but I promise it was way different when I was a kid. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, where is this community? Like, I want it back. Like, I want that everybody come over. We're having a cookout. It wasn't like you had to question it. You never had to just be invited anywhere when I was a kid. It was you show up and you're there. Like, that's just how it was. And I really wish it would get back to that. I do. Because I think a lot of people are missing that face-to-face interaction with other people versus just talking to people on Facebook or getting comments on your posts on Facebook in the wives group. Like they're missing that connection. And I think that would bring a lot of morale and camaraderie and a lot more. It would bring it up a lot more and everybody would be so much happier.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where, like when I was younger, I mean, we're not too far in age and growing up and all that, but I grew up where a big Italian family, where when you heard the doorbell ring, like everybody ran to the door so excited because someone's at the door, or whenever the phone rang, you were so excited because someone's calling, and you'd have the caller ID that would like say the person's name, and no one had a cell phone; it was all house phone,
Right.
and people just show up to your house. It was whatever. It was great. Now, if I hear my doorbell ring, I'm like, who the fuck is at my door? Yeah, I'm like, call the cops because yeah, there's someone at my door. Or like, no one has a house phone, and like maybe you don't have someone's number saved, so like they call you and you just don't answer it because you're like, I don't know who the hell this person is.
Yeah.
It's crazy like how much has technology changed that kind of really played into our lives and like the way we go about daily life.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I
like
wish someone could just come to my door right now and just be like, I'll be like, yeah, come in, But that's not how life is anymore.
The modern technology has been a pro for the military, but then it's also been a con in just outside the military too. Like it's been a pro for us to be able to talk to you guys on deployment. And like, I literally talked to my husband every single day while he was deployed, and it was the best.
Yep.
But it also has kind of taken everybody apart as well. Like, we're no longer looking for that. And people stopped with the in-person, like just showing up to people's houses or hanging out with everybody, because now they can just talk to you on FaceTime or talk to you on the messenger or text you instead of actually physically seeing you. And I think that plays a lot into a lot of things that are not making people very happy anymore.
Yeah.
So I think
It's like sending a letter.
If we brought back that in-person connection, then I think a lot of people would be a lot happier.
Yeah, in boot camp, it was like crazy to like send mail, like write a letter. I had to like remember like where my address goes and where theirs goes, But the feeling
But you
of when
looked
they call
forward
your
to
name,
getting those letters every single day.
yes,
Like it was
yes,
you felt like a kid again, didn't you? Like you felt like
yeah,
you were 5 and you were like, yay, I got something.
yep. I want to ask a question, but I'm not going to get the answer for another week.
I checked the mailbox every day while he was in boot camp. And I'm like, did I get something? Did I get something? And when I didn't get something, I was like,
great, Verizon.
and tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Credit card company.
Sometimes I would get like 3 or 4 letters at one time. And I was like, yes, this is the greatest day ever. And you don't get that with a phone, like, because it's so instant. You don't get that satisfaction of, oh, my question finally got answered.
Yeah, I think there was even like some groups in boot camp who got like tablets, like iPads, and they were able to communicate through like email or whatever the hell they did. I wasn't one of those lucky people. I was in the back of boot camp. I didn't even have a soda machine. We didn't have cereal. We ate whatever the hell they put on my plate. It was disgusting. We had rats. It was dirty, but I am forever grateful for that, because that kind of molded me into the person that I was and that I became to be in the military, where like, shit can always be worse, right? So take nothing for granted, just be grateful for everything. But when I found out these motherfuckers were getting emails and Facebook, I was like, yo, this is some bullshit, so it is what it is.
That would be a rough one.
Yeah, maybe if boot camp was like, 2 years, I'd be a little upset. But just for like, 8-9 weeks, some people maybe even more or less, to write a letter and get that adrenaline of like, mail's here. Like did people write me? I think I still have all my letters from boot camp. I'll never get rid of those.
I have all of them.
Yeah, I'll get rid of my Wi-Fi before I get rid of those. Yeah, 100%.
I think Stu tried to, he was like, why do we need these anymore? I was like, we're keeping them.
What do you mean? Why? You're right. We don't need them. I need them, so don't touch them. Yeah.
I was like, I want to put them in like a shadow box.
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice. That's a cool idea.
Have I done that? No.
Well, it's on the list. Okay, well, I'll get to it when I'm done. I need to have 5, 7, 12 more kids, and then I'll do it. Okay, so. But speaking of mail, so when your husband was on deployment, you were able to like send them care packages and stuff, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Did the FRG kind of help you like organize all that, or was that all on your own?
The FRG will provide you with the like where to send your packages, and sometimes FRG does do like package days where we just all get together and decorate our box together. But you're responsible for like putting into the box, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's different. Every guy wants something different. So it's
up
to
not
you.
Every guy, yeah.
How you personalize that box is up to you. But I would send my husband care packages when he was deployed. This last deployment, I didn't, just because he was in a location that he was able to get everything that it wasn't cost beneficial for me to send him a care package where he was at this past time. So it was just easier for him to go to the commissary because he was on an actual base where he was deployed. So he could go to the commissary and get whatever he wanted. And it was cheaper for him to get it there than it was for me to send a box to him. But when he was like deployed, Right. When he was deployed on like a debt site, he didn't have anything. He was like in a third world country, like nothing. He had nothing. So he needed everything. So I would just send him care packages while he was there. And
Did he have any
that,
like weird requests that you were like, why would he want this? But okay, sure.
no, he never asked for anything to be put in them. But I always just put his favorite snacks. I would put, the kids always like to put a little, when he gets ready to deploy, my kids all drop something small into his bag, like a small toy in his bag, and he finds it when he gets there. So like Axel put a little Hot Wheels car in his bag this past time. Ava put a bear that had angel wings on it in his bag, and Belly put a bouncy ball or something in there.
She put a half-eaten Cheeto. That's my
And
kid.
then
I love that kid.
Mila obviously was put nothing because she couldn't put anything.
I think
but
she just put something in her diaper.
But another thing I will say is for wives, when your husband deploys, get your kids a daddy doll. Just go ahead and order it. You can order it from, I think the website's called Hug a Hero or something like that. You can customize it however you want. It's a picture of, if I had one right here with me, I would show you, but it's a picture of your husband in his uniform, just on the front of a little doll. It's like a little pillow. My kids still to this day sleep with it every single day. And I got it for them, and they would sleep with it while he was deployed. They still sleep with it every day. Like, they love that thing. And it helped the kids a lot while he was deployed this past time. So I would highly recommend that you guys get one of those.
Yeah, I think I've seen that daddy doll too.
Yeah.
I think
a lot of
definitely
people
came
have
in clutch.
it. Sometimes they do. I got our daddy dolls at a really good deal because they were running this crazy promo. So just if you want to wait for them to run some promo, I'm sure on Black Friday they will. But I would definitely look into it because it's definitely worth it. And then for my husband, for his deployments, I made him a blanket, and I have it right here in the crib, but I made him a blanket, and it has pictures of all of us on there on the blanket. So they like somehow print all the pictures on this fuzzy fleece blanket, and he takes it with him every deployment, and he either hangs it up in his room or he uses it to sleep with. So then he has something like a daddy doll with all of us on it.
Oh, that's nice. That's definitely a good trip. Good tip. Thank you for sharing that, T.
Yeah.
Now, so he's on deployment. Everything's, copacetic. You guys are figuring out your routine. That's like one of the most important things, right? Is to kind of get a routine for like mommy and daddy time, and then daddy and kid time, and then whatnot to go over like, hey, like there's still us over here, and we still got things we have to, discuss and talk about. When he finally does come home, what is that like? Is that like just the way we feel it, the way we see it? Like, I remember being on the bus coming back to base, and I just want to say, if you have someone who's deployed and they're coming home, probably one of the best feelings ever is seeing a sign that your family has made for you, and they put it in the ground. So as you're driving, you see all of these welcome home signs, and that is one of the most surreal feelings I have ever experienced in the world.
That's from
so
the
making
FRG.
that sign, you guys do that with the FRG. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I highly suggest, even if you don't want to make extra friends, whatever your situation or case may be, make one of those signs, because for the people that are on that bus that are coming home from deployment, that is one of the greatest things to see.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, getting into it, what I really want to know is, what is that, like that first day, first week, first month of your husband being home? Is it like the best time of your life, or is it we have to adapt to where we are now compared to 6 months ago?
So for us personally, that I would say first month is like heavenly bliss. Like you just started dating again and you're in your honeymoon phase all over again. That's pretty much what it's like.
Aw.
You don't ever want to be apart. You just want to hug each other all the time, hold each other all the time. After that month, it kind of gets real, I think, for you guys that, oh crap, I'm back and this is all my responsibilities. And sometimes it hits them harder than others, and it can be rough trying to navigate that. But for me,
Mhm.
the first month for me as a wife, I forget that he's back. And I'm still trying to carry all the groceries in at one time with one trip into the house and carry all the kids in, and he's standing behind me like, hey, like, I'm right here. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I can help you. And I'm like, oh yeah. I forgot I don't have to do it by myself anymore. So it's like, it's an adjustment for me for sure to be like, oh, I don't have to get the baby out of the car every single time because there's somebody else that can get her out, or I don't have to carry all the groceries in at one time by myself. He's here. I don't have to clean the house by myself. I don't need to do all the laundry by myself. Like, I have help now. And it's weird because doing it alone for 6 months, you get into a routine where you're like, especially when you have 4 kids, you're like, you're just going. You're going. And then all of a sudden, you've got this huge help back. And you're like, it's like somebody slammed on the brakes and you're like, oh, wait a second. I can slow down now. My brain doesn't need to go 1,000 miles a minute. And that is a weird feeling. That is a weird feeling. But seeing him get off the plane, there's no feeling than watching that plane come through the sky and come down and touch that tarmac. It's like your heart starts beating again for the first time. Like,
Yep.
It's just like, holy crap, I did it. Like, it's done. He's right there. I'm about to see him. And then I have goosebumps right now, like all over my body, because there's no other feeling like that. Like seeing him again for the first time. It's like The Notebook every 6 months. You just see each other and you're like, oh my gosh. You realize just how much.
This isn't the first deployment, right?
No, it's every deployment is like that for me, but it's like, I don't know. It's hard to describe unless you've been through it, but
Mhm.
it's the best feeling, I will say. It's awesome. It is.
Does
so
every deployment get easier? Does it get easier as they go on, or
I don't think it gets
kind of relatively
easier.
the same?
I don't think any deployment gets easier. I think we adapt. We're adapt more easily. We fall into our routines more easily. We know going into it that first deployment is like putting a blindfold on your face and saying goodbye, and then you don't have that blindfold taken off for 6 months. Like, you feel like a lost human being for 6 months. You're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. But after that first deployment, like, you're going to hit several bumps on that deployment. Let's be honest. Like, everybody's going to hit bumps. But if you can get through it and pick yourself up and, your marriage is good and strong and the love is there, you're going to get through it. That second deployment is going to be like, look, we know what we need to communicate about before you leave and how long we need to communicate about it. And we need to set these boundaries. We need to set these, like, this is how it's going to be. This is what we're going to do. This is what we expect. Like, you're going into it a heck of a lot more prepared. And the FRG also does a pre-deployment like workshop for wives. So they'll go and you go to the workshop and they put together like a binder of like different things like that need to be done before he leaves, like your power of attorneys and like all of this other stuff. And it gives you a checklist. And so get with your FRG because a lot of them will do those binder workshops for you. And that helps a lot because then you have it right in front of you. Like, we need to do this. We need to make sure your car is, put in non-op. We need to make sure, how often do I need to do the batteries or whatever? Like, better how to plan for it. And I think that's the difference in making it easier is knowing what you need to plan for. Because that first deployment, your husband's battery in his car is going to die. Car ain't going to start. He's going to have problems when he gets back. Car's going to be filthy. Like, it's going to be, it's a shit show. But then after that, like, you realize, like, okay, you know, like, we could have, like, done that better. We could have done that better. We could have done this better. And then you plan for it the next time. So I think I don't think they never get easier, because sending your husband away for any amount of time is crappy. It doesn't feel good. You're going to get that same, your heart getting ripped out every single time, because you're watching your kids and how they're reacting. You're full of emotion. He's full of emotion, doesn't want to leave. So it's always going to be that gut wrenching, but you'll adapt easier each time.
Do you have any like key takeaways, like highlights of the military so far that, like you said before, you have the goosebumps?
I would say deployment homecomings are by far my favorite. And
not the leaving part, the coming home part.
No, the leaving part sucks, because most of the time you're leaving at 3:00 in the morning, and you're the one that has to take your husband. And if you have 4 small children, guess what? You're waking them up at 3:00 in the morning, and you're loading them in the car to take your husband 1 mile down the road. So that is not fun. But
you get Uncle Harem to come to the house and stay with the kids while I go do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, God.
So leaving sucks, but coming home is awesome. And I will say, the friendships that we've made, some of the friendships that we've made. Now, I've made some really good friends and lost some really good friends as well in the military, where it was kind of like, you don't really know what happened, but they're just not your friend anymore. And sometimes that happens in the wives community. Like, some wives are real cliquey, and you still see it. Sometimes you question, are we in high school still? But I will say, I met the best group of wives that I could have ever prayed about, ever dreamed about in Port Hueneme. And it was a bunch of officers' wives that took me in and accepted me, even though I'm enlisted, because a lot of times you're not, it's like, you can't go, and they just don't. Officers' wives stay with officers' wives, and enlisted stay with enlisted most of the time. That's just how it is. But they accepted me in, and they were amazing people, like the best people I could have ever imagined. And we helped each other through last deployment, and it was incredible. And I'm thankful for them every single day. So I will say that is a huge takeaway, is that community of wives. I still talk to them to this day. We're all over the place now, because all of us have transferred, but we still talk to each other. We're still in a group together, and we still talk to each other. So that group meant a lot to me in California. And I was not a California person, but that is the one thing that I did like. I do not like California.
You don't like Mexican food?
Oh, I'll take Florida Mexican over California.
You know what they say, East Coast is the best
never
coast.
have to go back to California. It will be a great military experience.
Wow. Well, hey, what if Uncle Harem goes back to Cali?
Well, Uncle Harem's going to have to buy a plane ticket to Mississippi.
Yeah, Uncle Harem can have fun all the way over there.
I do not like California. I was not a California fan.
Yeah, it's
an acquired taste. I just didn't acquire it.
Yeah, no. I didn't mind it. You know, they take a New Yorker, send them to boot camp, and then they're like, "Yo, you're gonna go live in California for 5 years." I'm like, "Huh." All right, you know, it could have been like, you know, like New Mexico or something, or like, you know, some place that I was just not looking forward to. But California, I feel like for me, you know, at the time, being a single guy was probably the best thing that, you know, could have happened.
I mean, obviously, you met your wife, so.
Yeah, and we would have never met. I would have never been an honorary Brzezinski eater.
Yeah, you would have parted ways at A school.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Well, all right, T. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really do appreciate you coming out here and, you know, spreading some awareness and some positivity for, you know, the people who are married to the military lifestyle, giving some tips and tricks and the do's and the don'ts.
Yes.
Thank you so much, T.
Thank you. Bye.
Until next time.
Views presented are those of the speaker, and the guest do not necessarily represent the views of the Department of Defense or its components. Neither the Department of Defense or its components bears any responsibility for the accuracy, legality, or content of the views discussed on this podcast. Now, without further ado, let's get into this.